Get to that, Gypsy, while in cahoots with Melissa Moore, also pushed a very troubling narrative about Nicholas Godejohn. Most of you know Nicholas Godejohn was Gypsy Rose's internet boyfriend who was manipulated by Blanchard to aid her with her mother's demise. Nick was diagnosed with autism. In fact, Nick's autism was so profound, he was placed on permanent disability by the government. Nick got a life sentence with no possibility of parole, while Gypsy took a sweet plea deal, thanks to this false narrative, still being spewed by Hollywood journalists like Melissa Moore. What makes matters worse is Gypsy and Melissa Moore's ebook, which describes Nick as, quote, hailing from Big Bend, Wisconsin, Godejohn had a criminal record for indecent exposure and had a history of mental illness. They added, he soon turned the pair's virtual relationship into one steeped in BDSM, end quote. Nowhere in the book do they mention Nick had autism and was on permanent disability. How could Melissa Moore omit those extremely crucial facts from her reporting? It just boggles the mind. Instead, Melissa Moore allows Gypsy to paint Godejohn as a pervert. They also accuse him of being a narcissist and make fraudulent claims about his criminal record. This allegation of indecent exposure is a blatant lie. Nick is autistic, and according to Dr. Theodore Wasserman, an expert on autism who assessed Godejohn at length, Nick has issues in social settings. He was at a McDonald's for hours and hours updating his computer. Long story short, at some point, he watched some sexual videos. A manager saw it and called the cops. The outcome? Well, the cops said Nick admitted he had watched some inappropriate videos, and yes, he had been loitering for hours. He also had a pocket knife on him. He was charged with disorderly conduct and carrying a concealed weapon, not indecent exposure. The cops checked out his computer's watch history and didn't find anything alarming. They let him go that same day. It wasn't that big of a deal. Again, Melissa Moore fails to do her job fact-checking this story and ends up defaming a disabled man who has an IQ of 82, which is classified as impaired. This is exactly how Gypsy was able to get credibility with the mainstream media coming out of prison. This so-called investigative journalist, Melissa Moore, had vetted Gypsy, had even co-authored a book with her. The mainstream media took that as proof that everything Gypsy said was truth.